Hex-Star Universe in collaboration with SS Design Science Group and Life to Earth and Beyond Foundation. Our topic for the day is human space exploration and the environment. Our speaker for the day, Mr. Subhidip Bhadra sir. He is the co-founder and operations director of Life to Earth and Beyond Foundation. Also, he is the assistant professor and a PhD scholar in Chandigarh University. So, without further, we can begin. Are you ready, sir? We can begin.
Yeah. Am I audible, Ashray?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So I'll share my screen.
Sure.
Is it visible, guys? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thanks to Hex-Star Universe and SS Citizen Science Group for providing me with this opportunity of talking about human space exploration and environment. Unlike the various topics that we have heard since the last few days, my topic would be more short and a more, I believe, a more informative. Not more informative, but yes, I'll try to be as informative as possible. But it would be short, considering that um, we all have returned from our universities, also considering my own health condition that I am going through. So to start with, I'm Surojit Hazra, the co-founder and operations director of Life Beyond at Life Beyond Foundation. So the yeah yeah sorry yeah. So for the world space week, the topic that we have at hand is space and climate change. So as we know that we need space technology from space to understand the various climatic scenarios here on Earth and how to best deal with it. While this is something which is why we should be more investing in space, there is also a concern on the effects of human travel to space. What are the kinds of environmental effects that human pose on Earth when they're traveling towards space, right? So first of all, I would like to get an understanding from our audience on whether there is any effect of human travel on space. Can I get some yes or a no? Maybe the administrator can give me some answers, yes or no. Then I'll just go to the next slide.
You can comment in the comment
Yeah,
section of chat box.
just an yes or no would do.
Darshan has said yes.
Yeah. So if there is anyone else, I'll wait for a few seconds more and then I'll move to my next slide. Right. So I take that as an yes, that we humans, when we are traveling to space, we are imposing some kind of an effect to our own Mother Earth. First, this being said, first we have to understand why we as humans want to travel to space, and this is something which would be my topic in the following slides. So yes, there is an effect on climate change when we humans are venturing into space. So we as humans are a wanderers, and since our very inception, we have been wanderers, and this wandering nature of ours have propelled us to take a step further and explore the outer space that we are living in. This was most beautifully put by this quote by Carl Sagan. So with wandering into space, we all know that we have Yuri Gagarin, the first human in space, and then we see the global map whereby we have various astronauts, cosmonauts, or space travelers, to put it in a more simple language, who have traveled to space. Most of the countries have traveled to space or are now trying to put their foot into space. This data is as of 2020, January 2024. So moving on to the next slide on how human venture is affecting climate on Earth. So to understand that, we have to first understand the various components when humans are traveling to space. So for this, Just a second. Yeah. So for this, we could explain this from the data that we have prepared while working on a book chapter, which was on space medicine and education by for a book entitled Innovation and Challenges in Space Medicine and Healthcare. So this is a kind of model that we at Light and Beyond proposed, which is also known as the SHIELD model. If we consider this SHIELD model, we have softwares, hardwares, environment, equipment, and liveware, right? As far as the hardware is concerned, it consists of the rocket, the propulsion systems, the software, the kind of engineering or the software we all understand, which makes this hardware work. And then we have the environment and the equipment, which we all need to sustain a human life in the system, in the rocket system that we are using to propel humans to space. And then we have the liveware as astronauts or the space travelers, as we call them. When considering the effect of human on space, these three, particularly hardware, environment, and equipment, have a role to play when imparting their effect on environment in space. And let's see how. So to begin with, these are the various components of space flight in on human space flight, from human space flight. So as I mentioned, the hardware and environment and equipment, these are the three components that basically affect our environment on Earth when we are trying to travel to outer space. As far as the hardware is concerned, we have the materials, mostly the materials, propellants, and the emission or the byproducts that come out from these propellants. And as far as the environment is concerned, the environment and equipment are concerned. These are mostly concerned to have a condition, to have a feasible condition for humans to move beyond Earth and survive at these harsh conditions. One thing which should be noted here is since the very inception of human travel to space, we have spent around 1,000. We have spent around 14 lakhs person hours in space, and this is something which would be taken forward in my following slides to understand how these person hours in space for which the humans have lived in space have impacted our environment. So these are some statistics on environment and equipment on how they have impacted impacted environment on Earth. So sustaining humans in space have or generates 1,200 kgs of carbon dioxide equivalent per hour, which is roughly around the figure as shown as 176236000. You all can gauge the amount of carbon dioxide equivalent per hour that is generated when we are trying to sustain humans in space. When we are considering this number of 14 lakh 60,000 person hours in space, these mostly comprise of humans which were sent by Russia, NASA, SpaceX, China, and Blue Origin and others. Some statistics have been mentioned on the percentage that these organizations or countries have sent humans in space. So if we were to put this carbon dioxide emission into perspective, we could understand that the carbon dioxide emission is equivalent to around, or not equivalent, or greater, we would say even greater, as 1,500 times greater than the emission rate of an average person in the globe, and maybe greater than 500 times greater than the the amount of carbon dioxide that an average person emits in the US. The cost of the fuel of a 16-seater Boeing plane, of a 747 Boeing plane, that would never land. So these are some statistics which help us understand the huge amount of carbon dioxide, or the huge amount of global warming gases that we produce or we humans generate when we are trying to sustain humans in space, right? Moving forward, are there some statistics related to in the previous slide? If you remember, we have discussed about the environment and equipment components from the SHIELD model on how they are having an impact on environment when we are trying to propel humans to space. Now coming to the hardware component of things. When we are talking about hardware components, we have seen that It's mostly related to the various kind of propellants that were used. So in this slide, we would be considering few of the parameters that were shown from the research that I've taken this data from. First, coming to the human side of things, as if when considering human, the kind of effects that human space missions have on humans themselves on Earth, we first can consider the carcinogenesis, the amount of carcinogenic substance or cancer-causing substance that each mission generates. And secondly, we can consider the respiratory effects related to the particulate matter that is generated with each human spaceflight. Note that the color used in each part is of propellants, and in the x-axis we have the various missions, which here have not been mentioned. It's also important to note here that when we talk about particulate matter, these particulate matter are responsible for the various lethal or the various fatal effects, respiratory effects that we humans on Earth survive. We humans on Earth have. Now, coming to the ecological or the more environmental side of things, the amount we can consider, I have considered mainly two parameters, which is ecotoxicity or the toxic substance which is generated from each space mission, which can degrade our environment, and the amount of eutrophication or the amount of algae that is being generated in our ocean floors, which have a degrading effect of reducing oxygen levels in our oceans, further affecting our ecosystem. So we can see that we have these data show that we have that each space missions generate huge amount of carcinogenic substances, have respiratory effects, generate ecotoxic substances, generate eutrophication, eutrophication, promote eutrophication, to say so. Thus, we can say that thus we can have an understanding on how the various hardware components of human space travel have their effects on environment here on Earth. But coming to the good news part of things, that if we see the previous slide, you can see that there is a downward trend shown by the green arrows, which also shows that the trend of the degrading trend generated from each space travel is on a downward, is going downward day after day as we progress from one space mission to another. So this is something that we should not be happy about, but then this is something which we can take as a sigh of relief. But we always like considering this with or without considering this, we have to be on our guard to not let this trend increase, and to not let this trend increase, which can ultimately affect our venture to space. The reasons behind this trend of decreasing effect of environment, the decreasing effect of human spaceflight on environment are: one, that we are considering Moon, Mars, and space stations as our setting floor for deep space missions, and also considering in situ resource utilization in these places, while decreasing our reliance from imports from Earth, thereby the number of missions to repel to kind of resources of space tourism that we have, or even the ultra short duration of space tourism that the various space organization or even the private space missions are undertaking. So, to conclude in all, we can say that while there is a degrading effect of human space flight on the environment, we also have some positive points to take, that this trend is decreasing day by day, but we should not be complacent enough as far as this decreasing trend is concerned, or else it can ultimately affect our future missions, our future human space missions, which would be whereby we are targeting of going into venturing into more deeper space, rather than just going into just going out of our atmosphere, right? So this outreach is a part of a outreach survey initiative from Life to and Beyond. This is where you all can follow me and follow Life to and Beyond as well. And these are the QR codes which you can use to subscribe our newsletter and join our WhatsApp group. Thank you.
It was a very informative session, sir. If anyone has a question, they can either type in the chat box or they can directly ask. Any question, any sort of. Till then, one thing I would say, sir, this is a fact we rather ignore. Okay. Aryan Kumar is raising hand. You can speak, Aryan.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Aryan, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sir, now I am Aryan. I have a question for you. So,
Right.
what are you guys doing right now? What are your plans for right now and future?
So are you considering, are you asking us plans for Life to and Beyond or plans regarding human space mission or the topic that I've presented?
Human space missions right now.
Okay. So I guess that as we all know, that India itself is trying to send humans to space, right? Various other organizations have sent the humans to space from respective countries. But yes, now it's not only important to send humans to space, but also look towards some sustainability side of things, since we are also focusing on achieving our UN SDGs, or the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. One of these goals is perhaps, it's not perhaps, but definitely sustaining the environment while we advance science. So, Aryan, I would say that sustainability is the way forward, even if we are, even in whatever we do and in whatever missions we undertake. So, this is the way forward that I can advise.
Okay, sir.
No more questions, I guess. The one thing I wanted to say that it is an aspect we often ignore the environmental impact which is caused by human space missions. So it was very informative to learn about this. And I would, Aaron, do you want to say something again?
Yes, Aryan, you can go ahead.
Sir, I am also wanting to become a astronomer. So, sir, can you guide me to what steps can I take for it?
So, Aryan, may I know your current status of education? Which class are you in? As I suppose you are
Sir,
a school student.
Sir, I'm in grade 6 right now.
Okay, so this is a very tender age to kind of, let's say, direct you towards a particular field. But what I can say is, keep your interest on the various fields that you are currently studying in your school, right? You can further take a decision when things get more specialized, when we actually have to decide on what branch of science we are trying to take in our plus two levels, right? Keep um, keep following the various organizations like Hex-Star Universe, Life to and Beyond, and other global organizations who are doing some great stuff in these domains, right? And finally, with regards to the specialization that you choose, it can be science, it can be economics, commerce, anything which you choose, which is of interest to you. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you can, what you have to do is kind of try to understand how the specialization that you are studying at that point in time could be of benefit to space science or space industry, right? It's not always science having its effect on space industry, but also uh, other branches like economics, commerce, and humanities having a great impact on space science or this space science ecosystem, to say so, right? So first, for me, I would kind of conclude that for you, sorry, I would kind of conclude that focus on the current subjects that you have. Try to understand which subject you are getting more interested in, right? And then
Yeah.
kind of understand on how you can use this interest of yours on a particular subject to explore space, right?
Okay, sir. So, sir, I am planning to give the UVK exam of ISRO.
Right,
Like it is based off the space stuff things,
right,
like the ISRO things.
right.
Okay, sir.
That's good to know, Aryan. And best of
Okay,
luck
sir.
to you.
Well
Thank you,
said,
sir.
sir. Means as we advance in our education, our interest becomes narrow and we can easily decide what we want to choose in future as we advance in our studies more and more. But it's got nice to see Aaron. He is interested from now on. I think he knows what he wants to do. It was a very good thing. So at the
Right.
end, I would like to thank Extra Universe, SSC Citizen Science Group, and Life to Earth and Beyond Foundation for organizing these sessions. We have one more session, the last session today. So you people should stay connected. And once again, thank you all for joining, and thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Asha, too, for having me in. Thank you so much.
Thanks. You people want to leave? You can leave.